Facebook advertising has some huge advantages over other channels. And one of those is, for example, how cheap it is to get somebody to watch your video ads. So I've run campaigns where it only cost 1 cent to get somebody to watch a video. And that's a very cost-effective way of doing brand awareness marketing, product awareness marketing as sort of your air cover initially before you start doing the more aggressive spear phishing when it comes to lead generation or getting people into sales conversations. But the challenge with Facebook, as I've mentioned before, is that the targeting has limitations. And I mentioned in one instance where I was only able to target about 1/10 of the number of veterinarians that I could through LinkedIn advertising. So the key to success with business-to-business advertising on Facebook is really getting good at the targeting. And there is one way that you can enhance the targeting, and it is by using this tool called LeadEnforce. Now, full disclosure, I am an affiliate of this product, and I will be having a link at the end of this course to offer you an affiliate discount. But you can take that with a grain of salt and do a free trial of this if you want to try it out. But only use it if it's going to be effective for what your purposes are. So I'm just going to explain how LeadEnforce allows you to achieve targeting that you can't normally by default within Facebook. So if my memory serves me correctly, you used to be able to target specific groups when you did Facebook advertising. You can no longer do that. But you can do it when you use something like LeadEnforce. So I just want to explain some of the limitations that I've run into with Facebook ads. So one issue is that I often get virtual assistants to compile lists for me. And the way that I do that is I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I get a virtual assistant to go into LinkedIn Sales Navigator and start compiling a list of people that I want to target. So individuals with specific job titles, or maybe they're just associated with certain keywords, and then you build a list. But one of the problems you run into is that it can be very time consuming to generate those lists. So I believe there's only 100 pages that can be populated. There's a limit to how many people can be in the list, and then there's kind of a macro limit. I still think it's worth it, but it takes time. Now, one way to overcome this issue of time, to be able to speed things up, is to use something like LeadEnforce. So, for example, let's say that it takes maybe 10 hours of a virtual assistant's time to compile a list of around 2,500 people, and then you import that into Facebook ads. The match rate, let's say that's 50%, maybe 90% on the high end. So really, you're going to get a list of maybe 1,500 people based on 10 hours of work. But instead, what you could do is you go into LeadEnforce, and what you could do is you can simply target a group that already has 6,000 members on Facebook, and you do that almost instantaneously. Just within a few minutes, you're able to target those people versus compiling your own list, which could take hours and hours. So it's one easy way to overcome the limitations of Facebook targeting. So the first use case that I explained here is that it allows you to target people that are members of groups, or for example, people that belong to a group for co-working, for example, co-working space groups. It also allows you to do Facebook professional targeting. So here you're able to do Facebook targeting that looks a little more similar to what you can achieve with LinkedIn. And the other thing that you can do is you could target based on competitors. So perhaps you want to target your competitors' customers to get them to switch to your product because you know that your product is able to overcome the deficiencies in the competing products. And you could have a specific campaign where the messaging caters to the deficiencies in that competing product. Another thing that is effective when you're using LeadEnforce is to be able to target the followers of influencers. So I frequently mention that Sparktoro is an excellent tool for finding people that are influencers. So I'm just going to put the keyword in here as co-working. And then what you could do is discover the people that influence those that are interested in this keyword. You could put anything in here. You could put people that are product managers. You could put people that are veterinarians, whatever it is. And then what you're going to be able to do is identify the brands, the organizations, and the individuals, such as this Alex person, that are influencers. And then what you could do is you could go to Facebook, find out what their account is, and then you could target all the people that follow people like Alex Thrillman. And I could just click this link as well to find that Facebook page. What I'm going to do now is walk you through how to do the advanced targeting within LeadEnforce. So here I am in the logged in experience. What I'm going to do is go to audiences and sources. And then I'm going to hit create new. And I could call the source name whatever I want. So I'm just going to call this one Gary. And I'm going to choose Facebook. So analyze Facebook group pages, posts, and profiles. Hit save. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically create a custom audience based on people that follow this influencer. So the influencer in this case is Gary Vaynerchuk. So I've gone to Gary's Facebook page here. And I'm going to copy the URL for his page, and I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to hit add. So this is a very efficient, fast way of targeting the people that follow Gary Vaynerchuk. I'll hit close. And now we can see here, there are 3.5 million users that I can start targeting because of the capabilities within LeadEnforce. So what you're going to do when you have this audience that you want to target is you're going to hit share. And then you're going to hit create new audience, and you can call it something. So I'm going to call this Gary followers. I can give it a description, people who follow Gary V. And then what you do is you select your ad account, or perhaps if you're a consultant, you can put your client's ad account. You need to make sure that you add the Facebook ad account so that it's syncing with LeadEnforce. You accept the terms, and then you'd hit save. And what you're going to do is make sure that you add the account before you come in and hit save. So there's two calls to action here. The save is actually going to export this list, the followers, into the Facebook account, and whereas this call to action is just going to sync your Facebook ad account with LeadEnforce. So what's going to happen when you hit save and you hit that green button is you're going to get a new audience, a new custom audience in Facebook. So to see where that would show up, you just click these three bars here within the Facebook advertising account, go to audiences, and then you'll see it here. So this is an example where I imported this targeted list here. And sometimes Facebook is not going to give you the estimated audience size, but what you can do is when you look at the performance and the delivery, you're going to be able to see what the daily estimated reach is. So that's going to give you some idea of how large the audience is. You can also look within LeadEnforce itself to see how many users are there to get a size estimate. So the first use case I walked you through there was targeting people that follow a particular influencer. That's a very efficient way to do it. You don't have to contact the influencer. You don't have to pay the influencer. You don't have to do any sort of a dark marketing with that. You can just use LeadEnforce to do it very, very fast. Now, the second use case I want to explain is targeting people that are members of groups. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new source here. And what we're going to do is target a group. So something I've been working on lately is targeting co-working spaces. So let's take a look here at groups that belong to co-working. Okay, so this one only has 97 members, which is not a very significant size. So we're seeing this one here, co-working 2.1 thousand. So let's try this one. And what we're going to do is just copy the URL for the Facebook page, or Facebook group, excuse me. We're going to hit add. So it's pretty much the exact same process that you follow when you're deciding to target an influencer's followers, only in this case, you're just targeting followers of a particular group. And then you would hit this and share. You would accept the terms, name it. So I'm going to call this co-working group members. I'm going to select the add account. And then I can hit save, and it'll show up once again in the audience section of Facebook advertising. A third use case here would be to target people that follow a competitor. So for example, let's say that you have a live chat plugin, maybe it's something like Intercom, and you want to convince people to switch to your product. So I just typed in here Snap Engage, and what I could easily do is just go to the Snap Engage page. And then what I would do is copy the URL for the Snap Engage page and then import it into LeadEnforce the same way that I did with the influencer and the same way that I did with the Facebook group. So it's really quite advanced. You can target based on basically any URL that you can find in Facebook. So for example, you could go into an individual post and target the people that are interacting with that post. So this is how you're able to use LeadEnforce to target people based on URLs within Facebook. But one of the most powerful use cases is being able to extract data from LinkedIn and then export that to Facebook. So let's see how to do that. So what I would do is create new, and then I'm going to call this LinkedIn targeting for Facebook. And then I'm going to select the source as LinkedIn this time, not Facebook. And I hit save. Now, here's where you're able to take the best of both worlds. The tremendous power of up-to-date targeting with LinkedIn combined with the very cost-effective and efficient advertising within Facebook. So, for example, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to search for the position veterinarian. Okay, so veterinarian as the job title. I'll hit search. And then what I'll do is hit search here. And now you can see I have a list of veterinarians that is going to be much more advanced than what Facebook is able to provide natively. And then what I'll do is I'll share that list and create it. LinkedIn targeting job position within the audiences in Facebook. You'd hit accept the terms, you would select the add account and then hit save, and it'll turn into an audience. The other key use case here is to target audiences based on the Instagram accounts. So for example, going after influencers and being able to target the influencer's audience without actually needing to pay or interact with the influencer. Sometimes influencers don't respond to email outreach, so you can just go into LeadEnforce and start targeting, which is extremely efficient.